It's another Thunder Thursday here from the Oklahoman Studios, 100 West Main Street here in Oklahoma City. But this is our first Thunder Thursday without Kevin Durant as part of the Thunder guys. It was just a week ago. We were sitting here saying, we think this guy's coming back. We're pretty sure he's coming back, Darnell.
100%.
90%.
Yeah, high percentages. Now, today.
65%.
Oh, that was low. You said 65, not 55.
I think that's what he said.
I was very much warning you guys.
All right, so AC was the voice of reason. That, by the way, is Anthony Slater on the phone from, are you in Orlando, Anthony?
I am in Orlando, near Disney World, where dreams come true.
And joining me here in the studio, I should introduce you guys first, Darnell Mayberry.
Yep.
Eric Horn. So today is the day that it's official. Durant signing the contract with the Warriors, having a press conference here in a while. We'll get to that in a second. But did anything change from when we last sat here, or was this always going to happen, Darnell? What do you think?
I think some things changed between Thursday and maybe Saturday when he probably figured out, okay, I want to go to Golden State. I think there was a lot of people in his ear, and we were talking off camera. I think Kevin Durant is really, really impressionable. I think he has way too many people in his ear, and I think he listens to them too much. And I think other people really wanted him to have some change in his life and his career, more than he did probably. And he just, I think, gave in to the pressures of his entourage, his crew, his family, whatever you want to call it. And I think here we are, he made this decision. Probably not so much for him, maybe more for other people.
Eric, do you think something changed, or do you think this was in Durant's mind all along that he was going to go to Golden State?
Well, I don't know if anything necessarily changed between the two teams that he was considering. I think that Oklahoma City and Golden State were always the two teams that he was going to be weighing the most. And some of these meetings were just formalities to see what other teams had to offer. But I think that, this really was a last hours or day decision for Kevin Durant. This was a guy who, like Darnell said, he's very susceptible to people around him saying things and influencing him in certain directions. Mm-hmm. And as stories have come out over the past few days about Durant talking to guys throughout the season, whether it's guys on the Warriors like Draymond Green, or some of the things that have come out of his camp, or people that are close to him about any displeasures that he allegedly had with playing with Russell Westbrook. It seems like there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes that were making this move more of a possibility than we ever thought it could be.
Well, AC, we'll throw it to you. Eric references the fact that some stuff has come out. There's people close or supposedly close to Durant saying that Russell Westbrook was a big factor in this whole thing. How have you boiled this all down to what ultimately led Kevin Durant to say no to a championship contender and go to another championship contender?
There's so many factors, I think. Ones we haven't mentioned, I think, are legitimate. The style of play thing, just chasing a ring thing. People can criticize it all they want, but now he has a better chance to win a title next season if that is his sole goal. But the people around him, as you guys mentioned, I do think they were heavily involved. I think they've kind of been orchestrating this for a while. I think we can now know where maybe some of these Warriors rumors came out in January, most likely from his camp, potentially his agent. And he's clearly been interested in this. I think we need to be wary of saying that he doesn't want to go to the Golden State and it was completely pushed by his camp. I think he had a high interest in it, but I don't think he would have ever pulled the trigger if he didn't have a lot of people kind of shoving him in that direction.
Yeah. Obviously a lot to still talk about with Durant, but now I think a lot of people are shifting their interest or their worries, I think maybe be a better word, towards Russell Westbrook. And we've got some questions coming in from viewers out there. And please send your questions. We'll get to as many of these as we can. But Camden from Choctaw asks whether the Thunder should trade Westbrook to the Lakers, a team that he's been rumored to be interested in. Could they potentially get what guys, Ingram, others, picks? What's the likelihood, Darnell?
I don't think there's any doubt that they should trade him if he doesn't give the Thunder an assurance that he's going to re-sign here. Okay. You got to go to Russell Westbrook, and maybe Sam Presti and Troy Weaver have already done that and said, do you want to be here? Are you willing and ready to show us that you're going to be here? Prove to us that you're going to be here, and not just say it. I mean, signing a contract at this point might not make a ton of financial sense for him. There's some ways around it where he couldn't lose a lot of money, but I just think if you don't get that assurance, you got to trade him. You can't let Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook both walk for nothing. And if you can get Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Jordan Clarkson, and picks, I think you're coming out okay. I mean, those are all young players, but they've got a lot of promise, and you're not starting from scratch. You got a good foundation here already with Russell Westbrook. If you trade him and get pieces like that, or to Boston, for example, Marcus Smart, Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, and picks, you're in a good position if you can trade Russell Westbrook for a package like that.
Is that likely, Eric? Do you feel like are there enough teams out there that would be willing to package enough for the Thunder to make it feasible at this point, or is it more of a wait and see what happens here?
It's going to be interesting to see because, I mean, with a team like the Lakers, they could actually just stand pat and say, okay, we don't have to deal any of our guys because we're in LA. This is a destination that Russell supposedly has interest in, or he's from this area. We can just wait until the summer in free agency, and we can just get him out here for a visit,
And
or we
not
can
have
sit
to
down
give
with
up
him
anything.
and not have to give up any assets. The Boston thing's intriguing from the standpoint that that might not be a place that free agents have been traditionally attracted to. Now they just pulled Al Horford, which is a big coup for them. But Boston owning the Nets pick coming up in 2017, which is supposed to be a super strong draft, that's an asset that Sam Presti might be looking at and saying, hey, if we can get Boston to make a deal and we can get them to throw in that pick that could get us one of the top 5 guys in 2017, that's something that's probably more enticing in terms of trade now. But I agree with Darnell in terms of you got to talk to Russell Westbrook and sit down with him and get a gauge of what he's doing and what he wants to do. And then I think you trade him before the season starts because once the season starts, you also risk injury as well.
Well, Anthony, go ahead, Anthony.
I was just gonna say the problem in this situation is I don't know how many Orlando Magics are out there that are just gonna give these packages. You know, if you're the Boston Celtics, Danny Ainge is not just gonna give a Nets pick and a couple other pieces if he doesn't know, just like the Thunder need to know that Russell Westbrook's not going to walk. I mean, do you see Russell Westbrook wanting to and staying in Boston? Maybe they have a nice young core, but I'm not sure he wants to live in Boston, and I'm not sure he definitely, I don't think, would tell Boston, yes, I'll come there, I'll sign an extension, I'll for sure be there. Just like I don't think he's going to tell that to the Thunder. So there's probably a package out there because look what they just got for Serge Ibaka. I just don't know where it is, and I think that's probably what Sam Presti's searching for over the next 2 weeks, unless, of course, Russell Westbrook says, hey, I want to be here long term.
Yeah, it all depends on the player because, for example, when Dwight Howard was leaving Orlando, he told the Magic, I want to go to either Brooklyn, the Los Angeles Lakers, or the Dallas Mavericks. So it depends on if Russell Westbrook has that same type of character, demeanor, just sort of forwardness where he's going to say, hey, I'm going to go to this team and I will re-sign there, or if he's going to say, yeah, I'll weigh my options.
Yeah.
If he helps a team by telling them, I will re-sign with you, then I think that helps Sam Presti. If he doesn't, then Sam Presti is in a very difficult position.
Well, and I said this to somebody yesterday that you would hope, although nothing is obviously, we can't hope and wish on everything here, but you would hope Russell Westbrook, a guy who's been given every opportunity by the Thunder, who's been developed, who's been defended by this organization.
Sounds like what they did with Kevin Durant.
Exactly. But even beyond that, because here's a guy that
They took a chance
a
on.
lot of people said wasn't a point guard in this league when they drafted him, and then when they started him, and when they stuck with him, they said he's not a point guard. You would think there might be some reciprocation there of this team has my back, now I'm going to do what I need to do. But it's a ton of money, AC. I mean, does he actually do that?
Well, the other thing is, like, to me, I feel like this team really fits Russell Westbrook. He has a just center who's about as tough as it comes. He has a pick and roll buddy with Dennis Kanter. He now has a backcourt mate, Victor Oladipo, who they can kind of have an identity as probably the most athletic backcourt, in the last decade in the NBA as far as on the fast break. Like, I feel like he can feel comfortable with this team trying to fight, the toughness of it, trying to get to like a 5 type 6 seed. Does he want to stay in Oklahoma City? I don't know. To me, even if he says, you know what, Sam, I think I want to be here long term, but kind of like Kevin, I want to go through the process of meetings and some of that, I think you got to trade him.
But that's the other thing, though. I mean, you have a serious question in what Russell Westbrook wants.
Right.
Is he okay with fighting for a 5th seed when he's been accustomed to being the top seed or top 3 seed throughout pretty much his entire career for the most part? Or does he want to be in that championship hunt every year? Because as currently constructed, this team is not in the championship hunt. So you have to know what Russell Westbrook wants.
The truth of it is, there's like how many teams are though? He'd get traded to Boston. That team's not beating Cleveland. Even with Russ, they're not beating the Warriors
The
now.
Lakers aren't there yet.
Lakers are a few years away. To me, like the Thunder might be closer than the Lakers as far as if the Thunder could somehow like get a Blake Griffin or something. Not that that'll happen, but I'm just saying like there's only maybe 2 or 3 teams out there that the Thunder could trade him to, and he would feel comfortable like, yeah, I'm going to compete for a title next year. A couple of people threw out the Spurs as like an interesting idea. If he was just really kind of on like a revenge tour on, Kevin Durant just kind of wants to go slay the Warriors.
I would love to see that.
I was going to say, the first thing I thought of was Russell Westbrook, Greg Popovich. That would be some amazing drama right there.
Popovich is so like adjusting. He adjusts so well to his players. I actually think that would work well.
I don't know. I've seen him chew out Tony Parker pretty good. It'd be interesting to see what he said to Russell Westbrook if Russell got sideways with him.
We've never seen anybody chew out Russell Westbrook that way. That
we
would be
have not.
interesting.
We have not. Speaking of Westbrook and his future, Scott from Sallisaw asked, leaning one way or another, what do we think? Is he back with the Thunder, Darnell?
I'm going to say no.
Eric?
No, they can't make the same, not mistake, but they can't let what happened to Durant happen again.
What about it, AC?
I wouldn't say it's a sure thing, just like I didn't think Durant was a sure thing to come back. Maybe 60 gone, 40 back.
Who you, Dean Blevins now?
I'm not even going to go there.
That's probably safe. All right, guys, we got a few more questions. A lot more questions coming in from people. Obviously, a lot of Thunder fans want to get some answers, and I don't know if we've got any sureties in anything, but New Jersey, we got a question from New Jersey asking whether Sam Presti will try to make this roster a contender ASAP or take their time in rebuilding. And again, he's kind of going on the assumption that Russell Westbrook not back. Can it be a quick rebuild, or is this going to take some time if Westbrook's gone?
If Westbrook's gone, it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
I mean, what seed are you playing for if Westbrook's gone? Are you playing for a seed at all?
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing for a 7 or 8 at best if Westbrook's gone. So, I mean, if he's gone, you got to rebuild and you got to start looking at the future. I mean, and the Thunder's proven that they can develop through the draft. So that's something that should give Thunder fans confidence.
Yeah. Anthony, it sounds like you feel like it's a rebuild too.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
It is. There's no doubt. But, look, I think, some of the pieces they have now are solid. I think Sabonis is going to be a nice piece. If Sam Presti trades Russell Westbrook, if he pulls the trigger on that, he's getting something really good back. He's getting a package probably better than the one they just got from Orlando, and they just got a really good package from Orlando. So if these young guys develop, I think Payne has looked really good in the summer league. I think I think he's going to have a really good year next year in just maybe a less stressed environment of, they're not going to be competing for a title. So Oladipo, I think some of these young guys, I think they're going to be fun to watch at the very least next year.
If Westbrook's back, how good could this team potentially be? I mean, they're still a playoff team in my mind, but are they lower?
You know what I want to see? I want to see a first-round matchup with the Golden State Warriors. Is kind of I think.
So you're
the
saying
dream
8
So
scenario
you're
at
saying an
this
8
point.
seed? Yeah.
You'd have to be the 8 seed. Maybe a second-round matchup. Maybe they can get up to like the 5th seed and beat a 4 and then get like a second-round matchup with Golden State. I'd say that's like best-case scenario next year. They're in maybe the 4-5 zone. Upset the Clippers and Russell Westbrook just tries to go into just supernova psychotic mode to revenge tour Kevin Durant.
Yeah, you think you've seen Psycho Russ. I don't think we've seen anything yet if they would get matched up with the
That
Warriors.
better be opening night, by the way.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit more for some of the questions coming in here, guys. Oz, Twosies, from Dallas asks, when are we going to get Steven Adams' reaction to KD leaving? Oz says, I feel like this is an important part of his personal recovery, Oz's personal recovery process.
You want to throw that to Steven Adams' agent on
Yeah.
the phone?
Yeah, AC, what do you know about Steven Adams?
I'm not sure Steven Adams has logged onto the internet in about 22 days, so I'm not sure Steven Adams yet knows. When we find out, though, I'm sure he will have a fantastic reaction. And if there's one guy who will not take it too tough, I believe it's him. I mean, this is a guy that he doesn't. I don't think he understands the fascination with sports in America in general. So he'll probably be like, oh, the mate wanted to play elsewhere. All right, well, I guess Kyle Singler's starting at 3 next year. Let's go, boys.
He's even starting to talk like him. I mean, but Adams is a big part of this whole thing in my mind because of what Anthony said earlier about, him sort of being that guy that Westbrook can look at as his tag team partner. I mean, I think you at least have to assume, Steven Adams may not have checked in on social media, but I got to think he's talking to these guys about some of these things.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about how much Russell Westbrook is talking to those guys.
Yeah.
Has Russell Westbrook reached out to Steven Adams or Enes Kanter and what their conversations have been like if Westbrook's had any interaction with those guys?
Yeah. Let's talk a few other things here. I've lost the question on the screen, so I don't know who asked it, but basically, are there moves to be made aside from Westbrook? Do you guys see, Darnell, do you see anything happening for the Thunder, either, obviously free agent acquisitions, any trades out there that don't involve Westbrook and all the fallout?
This is not something that I think Sam Presti might even be thinking about. But by matching Portland's offer to Enes Kanter last summer, he's put himself in a position to have a big trade chip now. And if they really want to improve in other areas, they've already got their starting center of the future in Steven Adams. They can use Enes Kanter's $17 million contract, whatever it is, somewhere in that range, to try to package that with something. Kyle Singler, Mitch McGary. I don't want to call them dead weight, but there's some guys at the back end of the roster that Sam Presti could potentially trade. They could potentially trade them and get some additional pieces or different pieces. So Enes Kanter is a guy that I would look at outside of Russell Westbrook and say they might choose to go in a different direction there.
What about it, AC? Is that a chance? Is there a chance that Kanter is potentially on the way out?
No, I'm thinking more. I think they like Kanter now as they need offense on this team. They just lost the best scorer in the world, maybe, or one of the top 3. I think now Kanter potentially could be a starter, and they could go with they could morph their identity into a bruising type Adams Kanter front line that plays together 30 minutes a night. I don't know, but I think he'll stick around. My question right now is, what do they have cap space? Are they going to use it on Waiters by just matching Waiters, or even just signing him straight up? Or are they going to try to go elsewhere? Are they going to maybe throw an offer sheet in an Allen Crabbe type guy, even though Portland would probably, match that? I don't know. My guess is Waiters is back, and then the Westbrook situation gets sorted out, and that might be it for their summer.
Well, Eric, I was going to ask about Waiters, and I'll throw it to you. Obviously before the Durant decision, it seemed like the money for Waiters was a little too rich, and they were probably going to have to let him go. Now, it seems a little bit like a foregone conclusion in my mind. Is it that much of a foregone conclusion that they bring back Dion Waiters?
I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion per se, but as Anthony's talked about several times before, Sam Presti doesn't like to lose assets.
Yeah.
So for whether it's somebody offering him an offer sheet and the Thunder matching it, or the Thunder just signing him outright, it would be good to bring him back with the cap space they have, and then in a year's time you can explore potentially trading Waiters if you want to go in a different direction.
Darnell, you were laughing. I don't know why.
I'm chuckling because the first thing out of Eric's mouth was Sam Presti doesn't like to lose assets. He just lost the biggest asset, the second biggest asset in the league.
It's not about you.
It's not about you. It's just the irony of Sam Presti and his history of doing things and what just happened 3 days ago is just ironic.
Hey, he didn't like it, but he lost.
But number one, there's no way he couldn't have taken Durant all the way, and there's no way for him to think that Durant was going to leave. And 2, as far as Waiters goes, the thing that makes this situation interesting is at the end of the year, it sounded like he wanted to come back. But 2 things have happened since. Number 1, Oladipo came in here and basically took his role in a sense. And then 2, Kevin Durant's gone, which not only takes away their championship hopes, but that's also maybe Waiters' best friend on the team. So, I mean, he doesn't really have the opportunity. He doesn't really have the choice if the Thunder want to match, but he may not be happy come
I wouldn't bring him back. I mean, what's the point? If you're fighting for the 5th, 6th, or 7th seed, what's the point? I mean, is Deion Waiters really going to help you that much? Like, use that cap space other ways and save it for next year and go out and get a bigger name free agent. I just wouldn't bring Deion Waiters back at however much he's going to command, which is going to be $13, $14, $15 million.
Right.
But the Thunder in free agency haven't proven that they can bring in big free agents.
Well, that
either.
was also a different scenario where you had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and Serge Ibaka eating up all the cap space, and you didn't really have the money or the playing time to give those guys. So now everything changes, which is why I said Enes Kanter should be on the table. Russell Westbrook should be on the table. This whole thing, I'm not saying blow it up because you got pieces.
Right.
You're not starting from scratch, but you have an opportunity to do things completely different than you ever done them before.
That's true. That's true.
I think if Westbrook comes back, Waiters comes back. I think if the plan is to trade Westbrook for assets, then it's a rebuild and you don't bring Waiters back for too much.
The one thing that I will say that if you want to keep Russell Westbrook, now is not the time to start trading a bunch of assets.
That's true.
That sends a horrible message to him. You got to send him the right message and say, hey, we're still going to try to be competitive.
Right. You're watching Thunder Thursday, by the way, for a few more minutes, talking about the fallout from from Kevin Durant's
Not yet.
decision.
Not yet.
Yeah, we don't know.
Hey, that's next week. That's next week.
We don't know what that decision is. We'll wait and find out later. We're talking about assets, Darnell, and Oladipo obviously comes to mind. Anthony, you had a chance to talk to him before Durant made his decision. Now in the aftermath, have we heard anything from him? I mean, here's a guy, he's obviously currently on a better team than he was before, but Durant, a friend of his, he was excited about playing with him. Kim from Atoka asked, that she's thinking about the fact that, man, a guy like Oladipo has to be thinking, all sorts of things after being traded. Any idea what a guy like him is thinking right now?
Well, he's sad about it. I mean, he's been at these summer league games. I chatted with him a little bit about it, but not on the record. Just like, hey, whatever. And he's still excited. He says at least to be on the team. I think he tweeted something today, like it was some type of motivational quote, but it was like even the guy that moved the mountain had to start like one stone at a time. Like he really does fit the Thunder's culture. He always has. That's why they've been interested in him since when he was in the draft. So he'll be fine. It's tough. He kind of got traded in a sense from the Magic to the Magic, and he had about a week where he thought he was going to be competing for a title, but that no longer seems to be the case. So that it's tough for him. But in this situation, he's the least of the Thunder's worries. It's how the other guys are taking it, how Russell Westbrook's taking it.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys, we've only got a couple more minutes here before we have to wrap up, but let's turn our attention for just a minute to Kevin Durant one last time. Well, at least today. He's going to be holding a press conference here in about a half hour or so in Oakland with his new team. Obviously, there'll be Warriors jerseys with Durant on it for the first time. We'll be seeing things that, frankly, will probably look a little shocking. But is there anything, Darnell, that you would like to hear Durant talk about, say? I'm not asking, is there something he could say that would explain this whole thing? But is there anything you want to hear him dive into, especially in this press conference?
I think it'd be nothing for me personally.
Right, right.
I've stated my feelings about Durant on the podcast that we just did this week, and I just was incredibly disappointed in him for making that move, leaving a championship contender to go to a gravy train, I think is how either Reggie Miller or Charles Barkley described it, and try to win a championship. I just thought that was incredibly disappointing. But I think that would be his safest bet in terms of PR standpoint. Stick to talking about championships, make it all about championships and how much you want to win and how much this puts you in a better position to win going forward. I mean, I think if he does that, I'm not going to like hearing it. I won't necessarily agree with the way that he did it and the decision that he made, but I think that's his safest bet.
Eric, what about it?
Well, I think he's going to toe the line. He's going to say the things that people are expecting to hear from him in terms of just being excited about the new opportunity and being able to play with great players. But to me, I want to hear his responses to anybody who poses these questions to him about some of the things that have been circulating over the past few days when it comes to his relationship with Russell Westbrook, his alleged displeasure with the way that Russell Westbrook ran the offense. Or the way that the marketing opportunities. Did he feel slighted in his position in the league this year? Did he feel like he was a little bit,
Forgotten?
downplayed or forgotten since he came back from his injury? So I want to hear his feelings on some of those topics and see how he responds.
All right, AC, what about you? What do you want to hear?
Yeah, I mean, Eric mentioned it there, but look, if I was at the press conference, my first question would be, you have been the biggest public defender more than anyone in the media. You've defended Russell and his style of play over the last 9 years. Now there's reports out that part of a reason you left was because of how Russell plays and your frustration with that. Which is it? Did that push you out or not? Basically, I mean, that would be my question. And that to me is not really a question he can skate around. Either he defends Russell and says it's not part of it, or he admits it is. I mean, that's not about championships, this or that.
Right. Well, and it's going to be interesting, guys, because I'm expecting at least it to be largely Bay Area media there who are going to be focused on the next and not the last. I'm sure there'll be some national media there that may ask some of those more backward-looking questions, but I think a lot of these questions are likely to be, what about the Warriors? What about the move? Not what about the Thunder in the past? So I hope some of these questions that continue to circulate around here as Thunder fans work through their stages of grief.
What stage are we in?
I think anger is.
Anger? We're still in
yeah,
anger?
I think. Well, I mean,
I don't know.
we may be
That
trending.
to me seemed like the first stage.
No, I think
Acceptance is where we need to
disbelief
get to.
How
Di-
long does the first stage last?
Depends how.
think
I think seeing Durant today in Oakland with the Warriors jersey.
He's going to hold that jersey up.
I think the disbelief will be completely gone at that point, and anybody that hasn't hit the anger stage will be in the anger stage.
Can't wait till the
Yeah,
NBA
exactly.
schedule comes out.
What's that, AC?
They need to get to acceptance because it happened.
Well,
It's over.
I'll be by the phones here in the sports department around 3:15 to
Don't
see.
call us, people.
Yeah.
We don't call us.
We're not a counseling
Yeah,
service, but
exactly.
if you need us, we're here. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.